Hello, my name is Amy Adler, and I am the director of the Single Mom Ministry here at Sheridan House. And I know things have been a little crazy the past couple months, but we still wanted to bring trainings to you guys. We didn't want to have you guys feel like you're all alone. And today I want to welcome Torrey Roberts. She is the manager of our Parenting on Purpose ministry here at Sheridan House. And over the past, I'd say 12 weeks, all of the single moms have emailed me and called me. And the biggest question is, am I the only one dealing with this? And so we decided that we wanted to put together just a little informal video and share with all of you that you are not alone.
No.
And that so many of you are going through the same thing. And we wanted to bring that to you and encourage you that you're not alone. And we want to kind of work through some of the questions that you guys have all had and try to give you some practical, answers and encourage you that you can do this. All right, so we have our coffee mugs. We're curled up. This is kind of have been our outfits for the past 12 weeks.
COVID outfits.
So the number one question, Torrey, that our moms had, how do they handle their anxiety?
Wow, yeah. I think we're all there. Yeah, I think we all have some anxiety right now, just kind of what the future looks like and just how we're going to weather this. I think everybody, me included, that tends to be my bent anyway. But there's been days I haven't even wanted to get out of bed. So I know that we're all dealing with this. I think, before we go into some of the more technical stuff, I think for me, one of the biggest things is I've been reading a book called 1,000 Gifts by Ann Voskamp.
I read that. It's awesome.
And I picked back up my gratitude journal and just being intentional, looking for things that I'm grateful for helps your helps that, I think, helps anxiety. And I know that it actually, I've read studies, and I can't remember where it was, but I read studies that just consistently focusing on gratitude actually rewires your brain, literally redoes neural pathways, which I thought was fascinating. So I think for me, the biggest thing in dealing with my own anxiety is just focusing on things that I'm grateful for and looking for God's hand through everything.
Yeah, that book, I know there's, she is such an amazing writer, so gifted. One of the things I can remember that she was thankful for is as she was washing dishes and she saw one of the bubbles come up, she just stopped to take note at God's creation on all the iridescent colors that came off that bubble. And so little things like that, even in our mundane chores, there's so much to be thankful for.
Yeah, that is actually the story that always sticks out of my mind.
And she brings it to life.
It's amazing.
It's Ann Voskamp, 1,000 Gifts.
1,000 Gifts. Yeah, definitely worth reading.
It's amazing.
So I actually wanted to read this. This was posted, I think yesterday, by one of the trauma nurses in Memorial West, which I thought was really interesting. And she says, I wanted to acknowledge that living through this pandemic is a trauma. As a trauma specialist, I think there's a few things that are helpful for us to know. Number one, parts of our brain have actually shut down in order for us to survive. I mean, I don't know, but I've actually had more trouble remembering things, I feel through this. I feel brain fog is even more. So that actually made me feel better that I'm not losing my mind.
Feel some days I'm oh my gosh, I'm going to forget to go somewhere that I'm supposed to be today because there's just literally so much. And, everyone, we joke around, what day is it, But it's true. We really don't even know what month
Friday?
it is.
What's happening? Yeah, it's very
My birthday is tomorrow, and I probably will forget it's my birthday. I kid you not.
I didn't know it was your birthday tomorrow. Well, happy birthday. Oh my goodness. So then it goes on to say, as a result, we're not able to fully process a lot of what's going on. Hence, we don't even know what day it is. Feeling somewhat numb and out of touch with our emotions is normal, especially if you have lived through a trauma before. Some people are also more apt to feel hyper-vigilant, meaning you want to get done everything. You're the people that are deep cleaning your house, cleaning all your baseboards. They are more apt to feel hyper-vigilant or anxious, while others become hypoactive or depressed. Neither means anything other than indicating your predisposition for how you deal with extreme stress. I mean, and I know that there's literally been days where I'm just I just don't even feel like getting up. And then there's days where I'm completely cleaning my closet, you know? So I think we can vacillate too.
Yeah, I definitely have found like that deer in headlights
Yeah.
type thing where
Yep.
you have so much going on between juggling work and school and, having everyone cooped up in the house that it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I have so much to do. So with anxiety, I don't know if you feel this way, but there's like two types, like we have the type of anxiety where we're overwhelmed. We have so much going on that we don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what you do, but I tend to like sit back and be like, okay, what thing is stressing me out the most right now? And I try to like pinpoint that and say, okay, well, how do I resolve this? And, and if it's a task that I have to do that, I might jot down, like, how do I reach this goal? And try to tackle it one bite at a time, and then move on to the next one after you accomplish that. And that kind of gives me a little bit of vision on, okay, this is not so overwhelming that I can't do it, if I take little bites at a time.
Yeah.
But then there's the anxiety that you have of things that are totally outside of your control. And for me, that's where I just, I have to go to God's word and just say, God, I don't know what you have going on. I don't know the reasons behind all this, but I trust you. I know that this is out of my control, and I have faith that you are in control. So those are I feel like two different types, and there's two different ways that you can approach the anxiety.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes people think stress is always bad, but stress, I feel like, propels us to get out of a situation or
and
resolve,
I think,
right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's also how you handle it. I think what you're saying is good. If you can kind of channel that stress rather than allowing yourself to be overwhelmed by it. I know one of the things that I do is I do lists, I do checklists. And, I also have, like you're saying, there's little places in my house that are kind of a stress point for me. Like if my kitchen's a complete disaster, I can't function.
Yeah.
I don't want to cook. I don't even want to be in there. So if I can at least keep my kitchen somewhat straightened, I mean, again, keeping realistic expectations because everybody's home, everybody's eating, but that, and then another thing I was reading is that if you can do something very, very simple, like making your bed, that just that act of making your bed propels your day forward. And it's just such a stupid, simple thing. But then when you come back to your bed at night, if you have not gotten anything else done in the day, your bed was made.
Your bed.
So I was like, what an amazing, and I ever since then have been making my bed, and then this has been like 3 days, but I have been making my bed and I actually have felt better. So it's very weird. It's a very small thing, but I think you're right. Just those little, and then I think on the overwhelming anxiety, one of the things that my mom always said growing up was the verse talking about taking captive every thought. And I know that we're all going to have moments of fear. We're going to have moments of anxiety, but it's our job to not allow ourselves to dwell on them. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to have the what ifs and, if we never get back to normal, what if the kids don't go back in the fall? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs right now. And I think that, we can't dwell on those. We can choose to let those thoughts take root, or we can just immediately stop and say, all right, nope. All right, Lord, help me think about something else. Help me refocus. Help me find a positive in this, So I think that's with the overwhelming unknown, I think that's taking captive those thoughts.
And I know I can recognize, if I watch the news, afterwards, I can sense a different heightened state of anxiety, And so if you kind of backtrack, when you are feeling anxious and saying, okay, how did I get here?
Yeah.
What made me start to
my trigger?
Think this? Yeah. And then be like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm not going to watch the news,
right. Or social media.
Or stuff like that. So, I mean, even everything that we put into our brains, I know, if there's, a scary, Dateline episode on, if I watch that, I'm going to bed thinking we're going to get murdered in the night,
Yeah.
So it's, literally everything that you have to be so careful. That Bible song when we were little in Sunday school, it's, be careful, little eyes, what you see. I always think that because it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I am the same. We can't watch scary stuff at night. Nope.
In Philippians, it says, whatever is noble, whatever is pure and true, that's what we are supposed to put in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's funny because, that just popped into my head. I think one of the things they say that helps with anxiety is laughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, instead of watching something scary, like, what if you watch something funny? You know, like, I just think that releases serotonin. I mean, there's chemical responses in laughter. So I think, you know, there's just, like you're saying, whatever you're putting in, are we dwelling on social media? Are we just constantly keeping updates? Are we watching news? Or are we, like, choosing to believe, you know what, God's got this? Me watching news isn't going to really change anything.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's what we're putting into ourselves.
Yeah. We also have been like just trying to eat healthier because I feel like that affects our stress at home, and just, you know, making sure we're taking our vitamins and getting some sunshine every day. I feel like all that helps.
Being outside, exercise, all those are like, you know, serotonin.
I haven't been exercising.
No, me either. I actually have gotten the COVID-19, I think, you know, I'm working there. I think I'm on the COVID-9, so.
Oh, what are you talking about, pounds?
Yes. Yeah, the pounds.
So.
Or COVID curves. There we go.
It's hard though in Florida. It's so hot out.
Yeah,
You can't go to the gym, so.
Yeah, but they say like vitamin D, you know, is one of the best things for immune system, and that's just sunshine.
Yeah.
So, but
I always used to think that panic attacks were made up until I actually had one, and I would be like, how do people really have that? And then I actually had one time, and
they're terrifying.
I didn't know what to do, so I literally just was like, I have to stop everything I'm doing and just be still.
Yeah.
And, you know, I prayed God worked it out of me, you know, and fortunately I don't get them very often, but there's a lot of moms that, you know, in our program that do have them a lot.
I actually had one driving once, which was interesting. I literally was like, I am going to die here in this car because I just could not catch my breath. Like it was such a scary, but yeah, no, I found, at least for me, mine was actually related to, thyroid. Like I've got issues with my thyroid, and so that actually is an anxiety causing thing even of itself. So I mean, there are some medical reasons for anxiety, and so when my thyroid becomes imbalanced, then I have more anxiety and I have had panic attacks.
So even just like routine blood work would be good. Like if you haven't had it in a while, just to get
routine,
to see if you're deficient in anything or your iron's low. I know I always struggle with iron.
That's right. But I found, like, for me, one of the things, and this is something that they'll tell you, is it's just very simple, but deep breathing, where if you're having a panic attack, just really focusing on breathing in through your nose, you know, taking a nice deep breath, holding it for like, you know, I think 4 or 5 seconds, and then releasing it slowly, but focusing on getting those breaths. I mean, I remember like not being able to take a deep breath during a panic attack and just like almost like yawning, just trying to get those deep breaths in. And it's just such a freaky feeling. But once I could sit and just like focus on regulating my breath, even like you were saying, being still, lying down, and just really focus and praying or meditating on, you know, whose you are. I am a child of God. You know, like those are things that, you know, even David did in the Psalms.
Yeah. So we find also just putting on like worship music changes the atmosphere in the house. Yeah. You know, completely.
Random dance party. That helps. Yeah. We actually had one of those this morning.
Fun.
It was fun. Trying to think what else. Exercise, vitamin D. What else did we say? Deep breathing. We were actually just looking at the article that said chewing gum.
Yeah.
What? That's weird. I don't know how I feel about that. But
we've banned gum in our house because we still have little ones, and I find gum all over the place.
Oh, fabulous.
If we bring it in the house.
Yeah. Oh, sugar. Avoiding sugar. That's one of I feel like that is not a good thing. So if you're, and caffeine. They said too much sugar, too much caffeine. Because caffeine, we all know, makes us jittery. So if we're pounding the coffee in the morning to get through the homeschool, you may find that you're going to have some anxiety later on that day.
I have found, like, when I want to reach for caffeine, if I chug like a glass of water, it gives me like more energy just by that, because I think a lot of times we get dehydrated not even realizing it.
And that affects everything. Dehydration, your mood, very much.
So speaking about that, it made me think of one of the other questions that the moms had is their kids want to snack all day. And I feel like as moms, we want to snack all day too, you know? And I have found, like, my kids, like, if they want a snack, I'm like, okay, but you have to drink this tall glass of water first. And then that way, you know, water fills them up and they're getting hydrated, and then they're not apt to eat an entire bag of chips. They'll be happy with their portion that I give them.
Yeah. I've actually put it in our schedule. I have our 8-year-olds would probably sit and eat out of, like eat our entire pantry gone. Like he's just constantly hungry. I know he's growing, so like there is that. So we have a break in the middle of our homeschool, and we've got snack actually on our schedule. So we do a morning snack. We eat breakfast early, have our morning snack, and then lunch, and then we have an afternoon snack as well. I mean, our snack is like fruit.
Yeah.
Or cheese and crackers.
I gave a suggestion to one of the moms, and she said it actually worked, and it always worked for us, where we would try to eat like healthy breakfast as soon as we get up, and then by like 10:30 or 11, I found that my kids were starving, and then they wouldn't want to eat a snack because it's not really lunchtime yet. But then lunchtime came around and they had snacked and they weren't really hungry, so they ate a little bit and then they were ready for another snack. So what I found worked would be like 10:30 or 10:45. I would make a huge lunch.
What does that mean? Tell me like a bit. What does
like
that look
3-course? And I would keep it simple, like just chicken in the pan on the stove, broccoli, macaroni and cheese, because that's pretty much all I can handle. That's like I cook. Sean does most of the cooking, but and I would make this huge meal, and at like 11 o'clock, 11:15, it would be done, and they would sit down and they would eat it all, and so that it eliminated the whole morning snack, and then they were filled up, and we'd have one snack in the afternoon before dinner, and that always worked.
What did you do for dinner then? Like if you had this massive lunch, like.
Plus, when you have a lot of kids and young kids, and you've worked all day, especially right now, you're exhausted at the end of the day. So at like 5, 6 o'clock, I didn't have the energy to make a big meal like that. So then we had like maybe an easier meal, like you could do scrambled eggs and bacon or something, or if I'm being honest, like cereal. Like just my kids have been eating cereal like 3 times a week. Yeah. But I even eat cereal for dinner.
Yeah,
so.
I've done that too. That was like my college staple.
But I offered that to one of the moms, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, it worked!" Like I fed them a really, really big lunch, and it held them off for like the whole day.
Maybe we will try this in our house. So you just flapped it. You did your big dinner at lunchtime. Yeah. Which is good because you're right. You're not
and then
exhausted.
They're burning off the calories. Yeah. Like if you're worried about your kids consuming too many calories right now, they consume. I think isn't that how the Europeans eat? Don't they eat like a huge meal in the morning and then
supper,
salad or something?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I mean, we're saying this. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds good.
It always worked for us. I mean, we pretty much did it because I was too tired at the end of the day to make a big meal. So.
And you actually, this is when you homeschooled.
Yeah. So it was like my burst of energy in the middle of the day. Like, okay, I'm going to serve them a healthy big meal. And then after that, forget it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we'll try this with my always
hungry
But also
8-year-old. Just trying to eliminate like the unhealthy snacks that don't really, it might fill them up for a little bit, but then they have that sugar crash, and then they want something else to eat.
Yeah.
But
I would agree.
I think a lot of that is just disciplining ourselves not to want that stuff, because when they see us eat it, they want it.
Yeah. We do a lot of like our snacks would be a piece of fruit or like a string cheese, or those were our snacks. So maybe that's why he's hungry. Mom, it's not enough.
Probably. Well, our boys are getting older now, so a snack to them could be an entire
box of cereal. Yeah. We're getting there. So so we also had, that was one of them. Going on that, how do you plan out meals? How can I plan out meals? That was another one of our questions.
For me, I feel like if you try to plan out every single meal, you just get overwhelmed, and then you just don't do it anymore. I found that. I found if you start out planning out at least one meal initially at a day, okay, we're going to plan one meal, you'll follow through with it and stick to it. But if you come up with a whole list of meal plans, for me, that never worked. I don't know if that works for you guys.
I do dinners, but again, this is coming for me. I had to have, prior to us having children, I was a house mom, actually in this house, which is kind of funny. But I would have to have, you couldn't wing it. I was feeding at some points 13 people. And so I would have to have breakfast, lunch, dinner. And not only would I have to have them planned out, I would have to have every single detail, because we had to turn that into DCF showing, that we were nutritionally sound, that they were getting everything they needed. So I'm used to that. So coming out in my own family now, I just do that for dinners. I don't do that for breakfast and lunch because it feels a little bit too much. But I have sandwich things, and I always have instant oatmeal, and I have eggs, and I have so we have breakfast options. We've not done donuts. I was gonna say donuts. bagels. You know.
Donuts for dinner.
No donuts for dinner. Bagels. And so that's what I've done. I have lots of different options, but then my dinner is planned out just so that I know how to shop.
Yeah.
So
It's hard though because, you know, right now some of the moms, like, they don't have the luxury of going to the store and stocking up because their
Right.
income is not there.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like not to be hard on yourself if peanut butter sandwiches are what's for dinner,
Yeah,
you know, and
absolutely.
not feel guilty about it.
Nope.
you
Cereal.
know? Yeah.
We do popcorn and smoothies. You know, like that's one of our dinners we do a lot, and it's easy, and the kids love it. We do that with a movie night.
Well, that's fun.
Or not, you know, we've done like naan pizza is another one that's like if you get those
What's
naan
that?
breads, you know, the naans are like flatbreads.
Okay.
I think Trader Joe's has them, so we may even get them here. I don't know, but if we get them, if you just do spaghetti sauce on it, and then just some like mozzarella cheese and like maybe some pepperonis, that's a pizza. And it was like extremely cheap, and everybody can make their own. Like we did that. We did our own like your make your own grilled cheese night. We did this week.
Okay.
So just trying to be creative with not a
Yeah.
lot.
I even will just like sometimes I'm like, Lord, like, what am I supposed to feed these kids for dinner? Because I have no idea, you know?
Yes.
I'm like, okay, looking in the fridge, like, let me just throw something together. And somehow it always works out.
Yep. Well, I actually Googled. I was like, all right. I Googled, I have chicken and potatoes, one pot meal for chicken and potatoes. And it actually ended up being really good. There was a recipe on there. I'm like, dinner,
Yeah.
So I think we're all just winging it at this point.
I know. So what other questions did the moms have? I know another big one was just on like schedules. Like, how do they keep their kid on a schedule? You know, what has happened is we're kind of all in like summer mode where kids are at home.
Yeah.
Bedtimes have gotten later and later and later, and kids are wanting to sleep all day. And moms are like, how do I do this? You know, I have to work all day. Some of the moms even have to work out of the house. And so they really are not home to monitor how long the kids are sleeping.
Yeah.
And it's become a real challenge for a lot of them.
Yeah.
So for us, I haven't stuck to school bedtimes. I've been a little bit relaxed, but only maybe an hour later.
Us too.
Because I don't know with you guys, but if my kids stay up late, they still get up at the same time in the morning, and then they're miserable.
Right.
So I found like, okay, well, let you stay up a little later because things are different right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to be a rigid like, oh, you're going to bed at 7 like you usually do.
Yeah.
You know, and so how would a mom like reel that back in? Like,
it would be hard for the moms that have to work out of the house, other than waking them up before you leave, making sure they're up. I'm a big one. I feel like as I've worked through residential and I've seen like rewards and consequences. I'm a big believer now in really rewarding, really focusing on cheering on the good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there need to be consequences, but I feel like kids so often will work harder for like that little carrot. Whether you say if you can get up, every morning this week, Friday night, we'll make non-pizzas, we'll have a pizza party, and we'll watch a movie together. Like if you have like a fun goal that you're working for, I think that makes kids want to work harder versus, being the one that's yelling at them for not getting up or, so I think you just start reeling it back in. You sit, with the older kids, you sit down and have a family conference. We're going to sit down, we're all going to really focus on getting some more sleep. That's one of the things that boosts our immune system, that boosts our mood, and just even have them come up with what would a fun reward be is if we can all go to bed at a decent hour and we're all going to get up at a decent hour and we're going to get our schoolwork done. Mom's going to get her work done. What's our reward on Friday?
Yeah. I've even found just like self-reflecting, like, am I being disciplined?
Yes.
They were like, gosh, a couple of weeks ago, I realized, oh my gosh, it's midnight and I'm still up. And, I'm usually in bed at like 9:30 or 10. So, but I was able to sleep in a little longer because of everything. And so that shifted the whole dynamic of the household. Everyone's like staying up later. And so I was like, all right, we got to reel this back in.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for me, waking up earlier than all my kids makes a huge difference. If I'm up before them and I can spend time in the Word and, do what I need to do, I have like a jump start on the day.
Yeah.
But if they're up before me, then forget it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I feel like I'm instantly in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Because I've not had coffee and I'm not, I'm like just instantly not fun to be around. But yeah, I think if I can get up and have my coffee and just, have my time.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think the hardest thing is being self-disciplined yourself, and the kids can really hone in on that. Like, they can kind of feel.
I think ours have even asked, like, well, why do you get to stay up? Like, I'm an adult, But I think it's true. I mean, if they're watching you stay up until really late hours.
Yeah. So another question that a lot of moms had were like, how do they even juggle like working from home and doing their own Zoom calls and juggling, multiple kids with their own stuff?
Yeah.
Because some kids learn well online and some kids don't at all.
Yeah.
So you guys have homeschooled anyway, but so you had to kind of deal with that.
I just think, one of the things right now is realistic expectations. Also giving everybody a lot of grace. It's going to be hard. Does it work? Is your Zoom call at 9 a.m. and that means that you're having to start your work at 9 a.m. but the kids' Zoom call is not till noon. So maybe does their school day start a little later? Maybe just you guys don't all have to start at the same time. Maybe you allow your kids to take their, screen time or do reading while you're, I think we all just have to be flexible.
Well, what I realized really quickly was, okay, this is unrealistic for me to work at the normal pace that I was and have the kids do every single thing that they're supposed to do at the certain time. And so what I told John, I'm like, we have to communicate this to the school first. Like, we have to let them know this is our situation. Particularly for us, we just sold our house, and so we were doing house showings on top of everything else. So, like, to try to do a Zoom call and then, like, 15 minutes later have everybody out of the house for a house showing, it didn't work. So I felt like just communicating, the teachers was like, oh my gosh, like, we totally understand. Like, and it just made everything so much better. They were a lot more, open, and they said, hey, since you can't do the Zoom meeting at 9, have them FaceTime me later in the day and I'll go over.
Right.
The teachers were more than willing to do that.
Yeah.
So it worked out well. Like, if I had something going on with work in the morning, we could just kind of shift, but we had to communicate that.
Right.
And so that was one thing that helped us.
Yeah, I think that's the realistic expectations. Obviously, you guys all can't be on a Zoom call at the same time at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Or, I just think we need to be flexible in our expectations.
Yeah.
So.
And some kids, I know, like, one of our kids was totally independent with the work, and the other ones, like, what is school? We're at home, we weren't even thinking about school.
Right.
So, I think for us, like, it was praising the child that was doing really well. Thank you that you are doing this on your own, and then the other one's just trying to,
Because each one of our kids is going to have a different learning style anyway, and you've got some that are very self-motivated, and then you have some that are not, and then you have some that learn well online, and then you have some that don't. So it's just...
The good news is that summer's almost here.
We're almost there.
You figure these people up north, like, they still have a whole, like, month or two.
Yeah.
So that can be something that we can be thankful for.
Very much. That goes in our gratitude journal.
Yes.
Yes, we're closing in.
We're going to pray that they're going back to school in the fall with no...
Yeah.
distance learning.
Oh my goodness.
So some of the other questions that I know the moms had.
How do I make Bible learning fun? That's a fun one.
Yeah.
I actually went on Pinterest, and they actually have, like, really fun Bible examples. Like, we were talking about, I think we were talking about sin, and there was an example of a candle putting smoke on a balloon. And so anyway, there was all these fun examples, but I feel like we have this really fun thing at our fingertips in Pinterest where you just Google, hey, we're studying this. What are some fun things to do with my kids? And there's been it's just tons of stuff.
That's fun. We used to act out Bible stories.
That's hilarious.
Where we would let me tell you, they would get really into it. Like the crucifixion, our kids went out, they found like off our bougainvillea, they found like the thorns, and they made like a crown of thorns. And they really got into it.
That's
and it was fun.
Yeah.
Of course I had to be part of it and pretend I was the whipper.
Oh gosh.
They, once you get them started, like sometimes it takes a little like convincing, like, hey, this is going to be fun. But once they start it, they get into it.
Yeah.
So that for us, it was always like acting them out. But making, like, for small ones, like crafts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The older ones, I feel like now that we have a teenager, it's a little bit different approach,
Yeah.
you know, and kind of just like things that he's observing in the world, like trying to draw that in and like, you know, make it, you know, apply biblical applications to it.
Agreed. And I think you can also, maybe if you've got older teens, you can involve them in that. Like they could be like, give them a day to lead the Bible study and let them study it and come up with a fun activity for the rest of the family. I feel like we would do that with the teenagers we work with. Anytime you give them ownership of it, it's fun sometimes to just watch them go because their creativity is amazing.
I know your dad always says that, you know, he read the Bible to you guys, you know, every day, and you guys never even acted like you even paid attention, you know? And so I feel like that's encouraging because, like, especially as the kids get older and they kind of think they know everything, like our teenager, like, we know nothing. We're, you know,
that's teenagers.
We're his parents, But it's interesting that they're listening and they're watching us on how we react to everything. And I feel like this whole COVID thing is a huge opportunity for us to just, you know, share the gospel with them and let them see, you know, our faith and that, you know, we're not worried and we're not scared, and
or how we're coping with our worry and scare. Because I think it's okay for them for us to be a little bit vulnerable, you know, and just say, "Mommy's struggling today. You know, I'm afraid. Why don't we just sit down and pray about this?" Or, you know, I'm memorizing this verse because it's helping me. Why don't we all memorize it as a family?
Yeah, I know some moms were like, "How, you know, how are my kids going to be affected by this crisis?" You know, and I kind of thought, you know, it's good for them to encounter something like this at a young age because we're there to, you know, show them how to cope. Yeah. You know, whereas when they're out of our house, how are they going to cope? You know, if they've never experienced anything like this.
Right. Well, none of us know what to do because we've never lived through it. And I think it's what we make it. You know, I think, like we've talked about that. I think what your kids will take away is what we make it to be. You know, like, are they going to remember the fun game nights, or are they going to remember the creative, crazy times we had doing the Bible studies? Or are they going to, you know, because this will be, for most of them, this will be the only time they experience homeschool. And if we can have little blips of fun through the craziness, I mean, I think those are the things that they're going to remember. Hopefully.
So too.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think we're really going to remember just being together. I mean, for me, it's comforting. I know at some points it's like, I got to get out of this house. Yeah. You know, the kids are driving me nuts. But, you know, at the same time, it's nice to have everybody together. Yeah. And I know a lot of the moms have voiced that too, that they're really enjoying, you know, but it's hard when they're doing it on their own. Yeah. You know, that's one of the things where, you know, they feel like they never get a break.
Yeah, that's hard.
And so a lot of the moms have said, am I the only one dealing with this? Like, no.
Nope. No, we're all there. I think it's important to utilize even like FaceTime. I mean, just seeing somebody, you know, if you have a friend and you can FaceTime them at night, just that connection, I think, will help fill that up too, maybe. Yeah. Because it's hard. Like, I just want to go out and see people.
See, I'm the opposite. I think we talked about this before. Like, I'm just happy. I'll just sit at home.
No, I'm like pacing. I'm like literally like out in the backyard, like, oh, there's a person. Hi! You know, I'm like waiting for the mailman to come. Like, oh, they're coming. And
I saw this meme. It was like, you know, introverts have been like waiting for this moment their whole life, and I'm like, that's me. Yes. I don't have to leave the house.
Nope. No, I'm in like fetal position. Like, there's no people here.
Yeah, but you know, our kids are all different. You know, we like our youngest Zarina. She just keeps asking, when is this going away so my friends can come over? You know, she just doesn't understand.
Yeah, our youngest is that way too. He's definitely our extrovert, and it's affected his mood even. Just the lack of being able to see people. And I'm like, buddy, I'm there with you. I'm just in a hole. I need people.
So one of the other things that what was the other question that the moms had? I'm telling you, all the moms, like, their questions were so similar that, and I even had some of the moms ask, like, I must be the only one going through this. I'm like, no, you're really not.
No.
You know, one of the moms made a comment, you know, how do I keep going in these uncertain times? And I thought about that, And I thought, well, we're really not in uncertain times because the Bible tells us that we're going to have trials and tribulations. And the outcome is still the same. You know, we know that we're saved. We know that Jesus is coming back. It's just, you know, trusting and knowing that this is just another blip.
We know the end of the story.
Yes, we know the end of the story.
We just don't know how we get there, but we know the end.
But I always think someone once said, you know, God has promised me eternal life. What more can I ever ask for?
Yeah.
You know, and I always like remembering that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where we go back to the
being
captive.
Grateful.
Yeah, and being grateful and just taking captive that. You know, I mean, God promises He will provide, and you know, we just have to have faith like a mustard seed. So it's like those little glimmers of like, all right, God's got this. Grab onto those, you know, because He will provide. I mean, He has to. So He's got us. We don't know how it's going to look, but we know He's got us. So any other ones? I think we've got like basically, you know, we talked about scheduling. We've talked about sticking to the schedule.
One of the ones was like, how do I get my kids off of the video games and the computer, especially the older kids? Oh boy. Like on it all day, all night.
I've seen parents change passwords to Wi-Fi, where every single day it's a different password. So that keeps them off of Wi-Fi. I know some families they'll take the phones and the iPads and they go into the room with mom at night. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the same with video games. Controllers can go out too and go into mom's room. And I think that can go into your schedule. I think, you know, we have an allowed time for screen. We have a screen allowed time. I don't know how to say that. We have a time specific for screens in our schedule that they have allotted every day, just so that they know, okay, we do have it there. But for the boys, they have to have their certain, you know, things done. They have to have school done. They have to have their chores done, and then they can have that little bit of screen time.
It's definitely easier to monitor that with younger kids. Yeah. You know, because you just basically take it away. Yeah. You know, and some of the moms have said, but I have a teenager who I can't wrestle the computer out of their hand. And so I do know for our family, our teenager has been on the computer a lot more than he usually is. Yeah. And we've kind of said, this is our expectation of your grades and your work. You know, we expect this and nothing less. And then at the same time trying to draw him away just by doing stuff together. Yeah. Because at this point, you know, they've kind of made a good point. Like, well, what am I supposed to do, Mom? You know, I can't go hang out with my friends, you know, and they're older, you know, they don't necessarily want to do the same thing that younger kids do. Right. And you can't expect them to do that. But one of the things that John and I have found is that our oldest will like to play like card games with us. And so we'll sit down after all the younger kids go to bed and we'll play a game of like 500 card rummy. And he gets really competitive about that, you know. Yeah. But it always involves us. So we have to set time aside. Yeah. You know,
and I need that interaction.
And I think even though teenagers will pretend they don't want it, they do.
They do. They need
deep
it
down inside.
And I think that's where you have the conversation, you know, and here, you know, if you want to be treated like an adult, then we need to have an adult conversation. And, you know, this would work with the residential kids. And it'd just be like, listen, you need to involve them in the plan. And what do you think realistic expectations for you being on the computer is? Or you texting your friends? Well, all day. No, I mean, really, what are realistic expectations? What do you really think? Well, I think, and you honestly, if you have a real conversation, you'll find that they may be harder on themselves than you would be. And then involve them in, okay, so if we're not doing computers at night, or you're not on your phone texting your friends at night, what are we going to do? What do you want to do fun? Do you want to get outside? Do you want to go for walks? Like, what do you want to do? Yeah. You want to go for a bike ride? You know, do you want to play cards? Do you want to watch a movie together? What, you know, and so I would involve them in that conversation. So it's not something I'm doing to you, but you're involved in it. And then I'd also involve them in, if you don't give it to me, then what do you think your consequence should be? Or what if I find it in your room when it's not supposed to be? What do you think your consequence? And we found that with the kids at Sheridan House, that was actually a very valuable tool, including them in that plan.
And that's hard, you know, as a single mom, because like a lot of times you just don't have the energy at the end of the day to deal with that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's where like you know, you really need to ask for wisdom from God and say, Lord, this is beyond my, you know, ability at this point. Like, how can I, you know.
Yeah. And I think you need to do it before the end of the day. And I think you need to have parameters set up before you're tired. You know, like that may be one of those, you know, you get coffee and sit down with your kid at its breakfast table and just say, or, you know, when they're awake and just say, listen, we've been having some trouble with this. I'm sure you feel the same as me. We're having different expectations of what needs to happen, and we need to sit down and talk about it. And have it, I need to have that on the kitchen table or in my bedroom plugged in charging at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. You know, and just come up with where you're not having a power struggle when you're both tired. Because, yeah, you're right. When you're tired, forget it. You know, you're not dealing with things rationally.
And I know sometimes, like, you know, as a single mom, like, it's just so overwhelming for them to even address some of these issues because things have, maybe kids have gotten away with and done certain things for such a long time, but now it's really coming to light because they're home all the time.
Right.
They're not at school. And so, you know, I feel like some of our moms have really found resources through church by reaching out to the youth pastor, and they've been having, you know, FaceTime conversations.
That's a great idea.
You know, to really get another person's perspective and not, oh, it's just my mom, like nagging me.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So, and I know our pastor of our church is definitely willing to do that.
Yeah.
So I would encourage the moms.
Yeah, that's good. I like
Yeah.
it. Do it.
So yeah, so overall, I feel like, I think I said at the beginning, the number one question is like, how do I control my anxiety? Because it's taking over, and I think the biggest way is taking care of yourself, you know, and making sure that you're getting enough sleep, you're eating well,
hydrating,
you know, spending time in the Word.
Yep.
Because we've always said, like, if you're not filling yourself up, you can't pour out for anyone else.
Right.
And as moms, we always tend to put ourselves last.
That's true. Even if you're getting dressed and taking a shower. And that's your goal for the day.
I have even, like, in my little planner, like, written down, like, okay, these are my, like, personal hygiene goals for the day. Like, I'm going to pluck my eyebrows today, you know? Like, and if that's all I got accomplished besides, like, the shower, brushing teeth, like, okay, it was good. Like, I actually, because sometimes if you don't write it down, it doesn't happen.
No.
So.
Hence, don't look at my eyebrows right now.
Sometimes I see, like, John looking at my planner, like, did you really write that down to do that? I'm like, yep, because...
Yep, if not, I won't.
I won't do it.
Yeah, I think it's true. Just little things to take care of yourself. You know, even if it's painting your nails. Like, for me, painting my nails makes me feel like, okay, I'm just...
You have me under control.
Yeah, I can look at my hands and they're not crazy.
Yeah.
So, each one of us is different. Some of us is even just, like you're saying, plucking your eyebrows or, you know, coloring your hair or doing your hair. Just whatever it is, you know, that's your kind of thing.
Yeah. How do you guys keep your house clean? Like, especially with everybody home, like...
I feel like I have lowered my standards. The boys have currently set up a fort in our living room and are sleeping in it. And I thought, you know what? Have at it. Have fun. Yeah. They have now created a flag for their fort and they have planted the flag in the living room. So it's happening, and that's seriously, they made themselves a flag. I'm not kidding. So we have our chores, and that's part of their morning, where they unload the dishwasher, they water some plants, you know, they each have a different assigned chore where we vacuum and different things like that. And we stick to that. But other than that, you know, we just do what we call the 10-minute tidy. And we put on 3 songs, we run through the house and see how much we can get done. And we try to do that every day. And just even that, I feel like makes a big difference.
I've done that too, where I'll like think, okay, how much time do I actually want to spend cleaning my kitchen? And then I'll be like, you know what, I don't want to spend more than 15 minutes. So I'll set the timer and it's like a race.
Yep.
How much can I get done, you know, in 15 minutes to tidy up the kitchen? Because otherwise, there's some days where I feel like sun up to sundown, I'm cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, I could spend the whole day cleaning the kitchen, and then the next day it's
back
just
the way.
as bad.
It's so depressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The kitchen.
So a funny story. So over quarantine, I learned how to fold a fitted sheet. And like, it was something I have attempted so many times and I just have given up. And I was like, you know, I'm going to try one more time. And so I was watching all the YouTube videos and I figured out how to do it. So I went and I tackled the linen closet and folded every fitted sheet like perfectly.
You need to come to my house now.
Yeah. So like a week later, I come home from work. It was one of the days I was at work and John was at home. and the kids had taken out every sheet and had made, I don't even know what they were pretending, like all over the floor in the living room. And I was just like, and then I was like, you know what? Like, they're not watching TV.
Right.
They're getting along with each other,
Right.
you know? And it was just one of those moments where I was like, forget it, you know?
Yeah. I think
So-
I think we just have certain, obviously, you know, we need to keep things clean for
Yeah.
hygiene reasons, but yeah, I think we just have realistic expectations. It's okay that they're camping out in the living room.
Yeah. And I've always, you know, told my kids, like, if you can't keep your room clean, you have too much stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that in general with grown-ups too, like, if we have trouble maintaining some type of order, we need to really assess, like, what is consuming our day? Like,
Yeah.
are we just picking up clutter, or, you know, are we doing laundry all day?
Yeah.
You know, then downsize, like, the amount of stuff that we have. It works for us, so.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, I think that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Should we pray for everybody?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you like to pray for
Sure.
everybody?
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for your love, Lord, that you would send your Son, Lord, to die for each one of us is just, it's mind-blowing, Lord, and that you allow us to live on this beautiful earth, Lord. And right now, I just feel like it's a time that we can step back and just really take in, Lord, your goodness, and just be able to be still a little bit and realize, Lord, that you still have a good plan for us despite everything that's going on. And we want to spend more time with you, Lord. And that's my prayer for these moms, that they will be able to find a way to not just go through the motions, Lord, but to develop an intimate relationship with you, God, where they're reaching out to you for everything, Lord, for advice on, you know, what to make for dinner, how to, you know, discipline their children, where they should go to work, every aspect of their life, Lord. I want them to be able to reach out to you, Lord, and trust that you are working all things together for their good, God. And Lord, we want to be more thankful about everything, and I just pray that you help us be grateful for the things that you've given us. And God, we just ask for your favor, Lord, with the moms, and just with jobs and with schedules and with kids going back to school and hopefully in the fall. We just pray, God, that you will let the moms know that you have everything under control and that we can relax knowing that just, Lord, that you love us and that we can give grace to our kids, Lord, because you bestow it upon us.
Mm-hmm.
We thank you, Lord, for everything that you do for us. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, this was fun.
It was fun.
We should do it again sometime.
I know.
I know, more questions.
Yes. Hopefully we can meet again. Right now we're putting together some awesome trainings for the fall. And I really hope that we'll all be able to get together again. I can't wait to hug all of you. That's what I miss the most about getting together, is just all of your hugs. So I'm really looking forward to that. I hope this, you know, helps some of you just know that you're not alone, and that we're all going through this together, but we have the answers right here. And I feel like a lot of times we do things the hard way. We try to solve everything ourselves because that's how moms are. But we really need to go to God first because He has all the answers. And we really need to tap into that more often. I know I do.
Yeah, it's true.
So we leave you with this. We wish you all well, and we're praying for you. I want you to know that we are all praying for you here at Sheridan House. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.